know I'm better than this. I know I'm just praying for the Lord to deliver me from pick sixes. Like that's not me. Like,
oh man, welcome into another episode of Boys Talking Ball, episode
What's going
6.
on, guys?
I'm Mitchell. That's Bryce. Almost said I'm Bryce, and that would have been a lie. We're coming at you with our 6th episode. Excited to be a part of it. Excited to get it to y'all this week. Man, deliver me from pick sixes. That might be the wildest prayer I've ever heard, bro. How you been, Bryce?
I've been good, man. I love Jameis, man. I think somebody said the other day that Jameis should be the all-time QB for the league. Just every team has to start Jameis.
I saw a tweet that said, if aliens come to Earth and they want to talk to one human being, who are we sending? And everybody's like, Jameis Winston.
Why not?
Why not, man? What a Sunday full of games. I should say Thursday full of games. We had a game on Friday. We had a great game last night. Awesome weekend of football. We get to talk about it today, and we're pumped to do that. Glad you guys are here listening with us again for another episode. Let's get right into it. Rants off rip. I'm going to go just because the game was fresh last night, crazy, and then we'll let you get into the Bucs, okay? But I just got some things to rip off about my Cleveland Browns, who last night lost a thriller. Who saw this coming? What is it, 73 points combined between the two teams? I don't think anybody saw
Ridiculous.
that on a cold night in Denver. Browns lose 41-32. Boy, where do I start? This was the first Monday night game with fans in the stands for Denver in 7 years. So that was interesting. Look, this team plays hard for Kevin Stefanski. I know that we lost, and we'll get into some numbers, but we talked about Kevin and his job security or whatever questions might have been surrounding that.
Yeah.
It's non-existent, man. This team plays hard, and Joe Buck and Troy Aikman were very adamant about the success of Kevin Stefanski and how good of a coach he is.
Yeah.
He needs to stay. Not that there's any question anymore that he should remain the head coach. We've talked about it at length, but I just believe that Kevin Stefanski is the best coach for this team moving forward, and I think last night showed that. They played hard for him, and they don't have much to play for right now, honestly. So the fact that they're fighting like that in Denver on the road on Monday Night Football is cool to see. We didn't lay down, and hopefully that continues for the rest of the season. Like I said, it's not a ton of hope, not any hope really, for where this team is going this season. But you obviously want to see him compete, and as a fan, I still want to see entertaining ball, and we definitely got that last night. Man, I think the storyline for this one is, as it normally is with Mr. Jameis Winston, he made the mistakes, right? It's the mistakes that he makes that I shouldn't say define him, because they don't define him as a man, but we know as a football player, like when you think about Jameis Winston, you're thinking about his interceptions, his trip ups in crucial moments of games. And it happened again last night, dude. And I watched the first one happen, and I was like, okay, he got his one out of the way. If that's all that we have to incur tonight, like, we'll be okay. And then he threw another one late in the fourth quarter. Another pick six. Dude, this is wild. Okay, the first pick six came from Nick Bonito, which, remember Nick Bonito, we mentioned him on the pod last week when we were talking about edge rushers. Playing great this year. I'd never heard of him. I know who he is now. And watching him for the first time last night, you can see why everybody's so high on him and his talent and what he's going to be able to do in this league. He's a quality player for sure, and that showed. He's actually, I found out, the first double-digit sacker that Denver has had since they had Bradley Chubb and Von Miller. So he's picking up the edge rushing talent for Denver. He has the pick six, which is his first defensive score of his career. That was in the first half. That hurt. It didn't kill us. It is what it is. The one that really hurt us was the Jaquan McMillan one in the fourth quarter with under 2 minutes left, when we are, I believe, at that point down 2, because we had gone up by 1, 32-31. Denver kicks a field goal to make it 34-32, and we're driving with 2 minutes to go. And I mean, he proved it at the end of the first half. He took us down in less than 2 minutes and got us in the end zone. So I'm confident, man. I'm like, we're down 2, not super confident in our kicker, but I am confident in Jameis's ability to get us down the field. And he makes the mistake, and it was a bad throw. It just was a bad throw, and it's tough. Again, that's what we've come to expect almost from him, which is sad. And we'll get into it in a little bit, but this is kind of why I'm not sold on the fact that he should be our full-time starter next year. I want him to be with the team, but
Selfish.
What's that?
You're selfish, man.
I'm selfish?
You want him on the team, but you don't want him to start?
Yeah.
It's messed up, bro.
Well, okay. Was he the reason they lost last night?
I mean, you could blame the defense for letting up that many points as well, though. No?
No, and I'm going to blame the defense in a minute, but I'm just asking your opinion. Is he the reason that they lost?
Yeah, 100%. He threw that pick at the end of the game to lose it.
Was he the reason that they won last Thursday night against Pittsburgh in the snow?
Facts.
I don't know.
Yes, he was.
Was he? He was?
Yeah, he was a dog.
All I'm saying
I'm not
is,
here to fight for Jameis, though.
No. I'm just wondering your opinion. I'm wondering your opinion on it because, again, like, I just want. He's not shown that he can be consistent. He's shown that he's got the ability, obviously. And we're going to go through some of the numbers. They were ridiculous last night. If you take away even one of those pick sixes, we probably win this game. And I know that the points don't add up that way. I'm just saying situationally,
sure.
I feel like we would have won if we didn't give up, literally hand Denver 14 points, which is crazy. But if you look at the totality of what he did, I mean, it's unbelievable. He was 34 of 58. We threw 58 times in Denver in the cold. That's insane. He had 497 yards. I was really praying that he would get over 500. And it was on that last play from the 2-yard line, I think, or the 3-yard line that he threw the pick. So obviously it didn't end up happening. But 497 total yards is crazy, or passing yards, I should say, is crazy. 4 touchdowns, obviously the 3 interceptions, 2 pick sixes. One of them was the interception at the end that really didn't mean much. He's just kind of trying to force a ball in there. That's a Browns record. 497 yards is a Browns record for passing yards. Nobody in a Cleveland Browns jersey has ever thrown for more yards than we saw Jameis Winston throw last night. Jameis is also now tied. This is an interesting tidbit. Jameis is tied with Peyton Manning for the most games in NFL history with 4 touchdown passes and 450 plus yards. And that's 3. They've each had 3 of them, which is wild. That's from StatMuse, our pretend friends over at StatMuse.
I'm assuming the other 2 were with Tampa.
Probably. I don't think he ever did that in New Orleans.
Might have, but I doubt it.
He might have. And then when you consider, this is an interesting number too. Browns quarterbacks Jameis Winston and Joe Flacco from last season are top 1 and 2 in NFL history in passing yards in their first 5 games with the team. I know that's a lot. But in a quarterback's first 5 games with a new team, Jameis Winston and Joe Flacco, both in their time with the Browns, have the 1 and 2 spots for most passing yards. It's insane, man. This is insane. It goes to show you what Kevin Stefanski can do with a confident quarterback. And I'm not here to bash Deshaun Watson. I'm just saying when you put other people in that spot, like, he has insane success. So that was wild to me. I mean, that's just crazy. Let's talk about Jerry Jeudy, dude.
Revenge game.
He talked his talk, and then he went out and he walked his walk. And man, he absolutely cooked that Broncos secondary. I should say, really, he just cooked Levi Wallace mostly.
Their 4th-string corner. Somebody said that he had a biblically accurate Jamar Chase game.
Jamar Chase legacy game for Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah.
It was great, man. He had 9 catches. He had a career-high 235 yards. He had 1 touchdown. Could have had 2. You saw the one that Jameis missed him on, which just missed him by a couple feet, but that makes the difference. But he broke on a streak. He had 3 steps on his defender and probably would have had up over 300 yards of receiving and 2 touchdowns if they had connected on that one, but they didn't. It is what it is. That's the NFL record for most player yardage against their former team. They mentioned that on Monday Night Football last night. I'm just reiterating it here. That 235 yards is the most that a player's ever had facing his old team, which is cool. Jerry Jeudy himself leads the NFL in receiving yardage since week 8 with 614 yards. There's nobody in the league catching the ball for more yardage than Jeudy is since week 8, which is when Jameis Winston took over.
Wow.
He's also the 3rd Cleveland Brown in history to record a 200-plus yard receiving game. Other 2, Amari Cooper, Josh Gordon. So offense was great, man. 552 total yards. They had almost 300 yards in the first half. I mean, I was watching it, and I was like, why are we losing? This is crazy. Why? How are we down?
You know why.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about the defense, which struggled. I mean, and they had moments, okay? They gave up 400 yards, which is unacceptable. Not going to win many games giving up that many yards. They didn't sack the quarterback 1 time. I believe they had Bo Nix under pressure quite a few times, but they weren't able to get home. And Jim Schwartz dialed up blitzes. He tried everything he could to create pressure, it just never got home. And ultimately, like, we weren't able to bother Bo Nix enough to make him Now, he did throw 2 interceptions. He did throw 2 picks, which were big. Denzel Ward got one, and I believe Martin Emerson Jr. maybe. I have to go back and look, but I know Ward got one of them on the deep ball where he was just kind of backpedaling and jumped up and grabbed it. But the defense they give up too many big plays, man. This has kind of been the story for this defense this year, which is crazy because last year could not have been further from the case. Yeah. They were lights out in every aspect. On third down alone last night, Bo Nix was 7 of 11 for 156 yards and 1 touchdown. That's just on third downs. And honestly, that's most of the damage he did because he didn't throw for many more yards than that. I don't know what his total was, but it wasn't much more than that. No. So if they'd have just tightened up on third down, like, the game would have been completely different.
A blowout.
Weren't able to do it, and weren't able to come up big. I know I talked the talk on Miles last week, and I would still stand by that, but he was somewhat non-existent. Now, we talk about the double teams and the amount of chipping and all the things that they do on Miles, and you just watch the Monday Night broadcast, you could see that happening last night, and they talked about it too. But he wasn't able to get home, and so It is what it is. Take that for what it is. He had an off game, and there's no running from that. It was bad. So the fact that we weren't able to generate much pressure on a rookie quarterback and kind of frazzle him is upsetting. We all know Bo Nix is ascending. He's playing so much better now than he was in the first 5-6 weeks of the season when this offense was non-existent, honestly. It's just crazy, dude. It was a wild game. There was a sequence in the third quarter. I wanted to mention this because I thought it was funny. It was 10 minutes, 17 seconds in the third quarter. It's 3rd and 11 for Denver. They're on their own 7. I literally said out loud to myself in this room by myself late at night as I'm watching the game on replay, I'm like, let's get a big play here. I'm thinking, like, they're on their own 7. Can we generate a turnover? Let's get a big play right here. Turns out it's a 93-yard streak to Marvin Mims Jr. and they go the house. And I said out loud, I'm like, that's not the big play that I was talking about, but that is a big play. Once you know, on the very next play from scrimmage, Jameis Winston goes 70 yards to Jerry Jeudy to make it 28-25 after they got the 2-point conversion. It's just a wild game. The receiving core looked great. They didn't have Cedric Tillman last night. We talked about Jeudy, 9 catches, 235 yards, a touchdown. David Njoku showed up. He had 9 catches, 52 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He's now got the most receiving touchdowns in Cleveland Browns history since 99. No one's caught more than him, which is cool. Elijah Moore had the best game, arguably, of his Browns career. 8 catches, 111 yards. And then you had Mike Woods. They called him up from the practice squad. Ton of talent. They drafted this guy 6th round out of Oklahoma. He's not been able to stay healthy the past couple of years, but he gets a shot in prime time, and I think he makes the most of it. 3 catches, 43 yards. So the receiving core had a night. Nick Chubb, average, not good on the ground. 9 carries, 21 yards, 2.3 yard average, 2 catches, 24 yards, and a touchdown. Not much else to say, man. Denzel Ward, I think, is having a sneaky good season for this team. Really, really good. Potentially, I think, Pro Bowl worthy. He is the highest graded cornerback in single coverage this season with a 93.4 grade. The dude is locked.
Yeah, he's always been a dog.
He always has been, and unfortunately, I don't know why, but he doesn't get talked about that much nationally anymore. He did in the first couple of years of his career, hasn't recently, and it's fine. It is what it is, but the numbers speak for themselves. He's obviously still performing at a very high level. Wouldn't be surprised at all if he sneaks into the Pro Bowl this year. Ultimately, this, I think, sums it up best. The Jameis Winston experience, and I read this on Twitter, the Jameis Winston experience is like if you took the Flacco experience from last year and had Michael Bay direct it.
Just Linkin Park, what I've done at the end of the game.
And that's how we feel, man. PFF, and I'll wrap with this. PFF put up a mock draft last night, and with the 8th overall pick in the 2025 NFL draft, they had the Cleveland Browns selecting Cam Ward out of Miami. And look, I'm going to end my rant by saying this. I want Cam Ward, Jameis Winston for 2025. Deshaun Watson can be in that room too, but I don't want to see Deshaun Watson as your starter. I want to see a quarterback competition of which one of those 2 quarterbacks takes the reins.
I think Deshaun Watson gets traded to the Giants. Y'all get like a 3rd round, 4th round pick for him.
Really?
We'll see. I think so. I think him and Malik Neighbors, whatever. We'll talk about that later. My rant's off rip.
Yeah, hit us with it. Let's talk about the Bucs.
Man, I was at that Bucs game in Charlotte. It was freezing cold Sunday.
I bet.
But man, was it sick. It was, first of all, if you've ever been to the Carolina Stadium, it's beautiful. The city skylines in the background, they light up the buildings to kind of represent the game. So the big, I don't know what building it's called, but one of the huge buildings was just Tampa Bay red. And it was the biggest building, so I was happy. I was like, oh, I see where their allegiance is. And then you had another building that was like blue. It was just really cool how they kind of just make the whole city feel included in this game. But I wanted to talk about the one and only Bucky Irving.
Okay, hit us with it.
I know you're not on social media as much as the average Joe, but there is a surge of Bucky Irving worshipers online. And I think it's a joke. You know, obviously there's this guy named Bucky Irving worshiper 89, whatever, I don't know, on Instagram. And he's getting thousands of followers. He's on every post. Everybody's reposting him. And he just makes like just dumb content revolving Bucky Irving. He sells merch. It says like, I love Bucky Irving. Like, he's kind of caught on as a little trend. And it's because he's playing so good. He's a rookie out of Oregon. If you ask any Oregon fan, they have no idea why he slipped so far in the draft. Well, we got him. And this season, he's having an incredible rookie year. He has 133 rushing attempts for 732 yards, 6 rushing touchdowns, and 1,193 total yards. He's averaging about 5.5 yards a rush. And on Sunday, he just was explosive, man. They just fed the hot hand. They gave him a career high in carries. So he had 28 touches and a total of 185 yards. So before I talk about how close and ugly that game was, I just want to give Bucky his flowers.
Yeah, he deserves it.
Very big Bucky fan, and I'm happy that he is a rookie. I'm happy that we get him for a little while. He seems to be outperforming everybody in that running back room, and I just say feed the hot hand. I like that our running game is complete opposite from last year. If you didn't know, 2023 season, we were ranked 32 in run game. We were the worst team in the league at running the football, and now we're top 10. We're top 10. So it's crazy. Wild. Anyways, let's talk about this close win. This was a crazy game. I'll kind of just talk about the experience that I had when we got into the stadium. Kickoff was going, and we had some like nosebleed seats up in the rafters. It was so cold, and so we went up there and we were sitting in. And around halftime, we got to go tour the production booth. So my friend, he had a connection that works for the Carolina Panthers, so we were able to get into the server room, meet all the staff members. It was a really cool experience, and I took some videos. I posted on social media. So if you're listening to this on Wednesday, you can go back and look at it. I posted that yesterday. I posted that on Monday. But
at Boys Talking Ball.
Yeah, Boys Talking Ball. We were able to tour like their entire facility, man. One thing I didn't get on camera is they have this like lounge area that's like inside. It looks like a restaurant. So you walk in, they have like free soft serve, free food everywhere, and you can kind of just see a ton of families hang out there. I don't know if they're families of people who are playing or families of people who work there.
Yeah.
But you can't get in without being escorted by someone who works there or having a key card yourself. And so we were being escorted through, and I was just looking around, and there's giant TVs everywhere showing the game live just a few seconds behind. And it was just so cool. I was like, dang, I wish I worked at a stadium. The amenities are insane. And I can't speak for any other stadium. I'm sure it's even crazier over at like the Rams stadium that's brand new.
Right, the newer stadiums.
This is an old stadium, and they have such a cool thing. So we got to go like ground zero. I saw where like all the band members have their lockers with their equipment, their drum kits, all that stuff. We got to see like the NFL broadcast trucks that come and park for the games. That kind of they do all the production aspect for like what goes on CBS or Fox or whatever the broadcast is that day. So while I was doing that though, I was so badly trying to watch this game. I like, as much as this was a cool experience that I couldn't pass up, I also didn't want to miss the game. So I was kind of mad because like, they're just yapping, and I'm over here like, dude, I'm trying to watch this game, and I'm like catching a TV, but one TV has like red zone on it, so it's not showing the Bucs the whole time. And then the other TV is like a camera angle of the game that's not even like in focus or anything. I'm like, what is going on?
So
I don't know.
What point of the game was this?
This was like third quarter. So I pretty much missed the entire third quarter. And my wife is texting me during the game like, oh my gosh, Baker's down, he's hurt. And I'm like pulling out my phone. I'm like trying to look up like, oh my gosh, what is happening? And she's like, it doesn't look good. His whole ankle just bent because someone stepped on it. I went back and watched it, and I was like, dang, this looks bad. And she's like, he's going into the tent. Kyle Trask is out. I'm talking to these dudes. I'm like, hey, man, like, I was like whispering in my friend's ear. I was like, let's get back to our seats. Like, I'm trying to figure out what the frick is going on. Right. And meanwhile, we're just talking shop like, oh, this XLR goes into and they're just talking about all this nerdy stuff. I have no idea what they're talking about. I'm like, oh boy. And shout out Shep. And what's funny is I get a text from Tanner, my wife. She's like, Baker's back in. And I was like, no shot. I was like, the way she explained the ankle injury to me, because I had not seen the footage yet. I was like, there's no way. This dude just broke his ankle. Like, the way she made it sound, it bent the whole wrong way or whatever. And maybe she was being a little, like, you know, I don't want to say dramatic because she listens, but maybe she was over analyzing the situation.
Sure.
But I was so worried about him because that is our heart and soul to our team, truly. But he came back out and he rallied the troops and it was a close game. I was actually in the stadium. I was next to a bunch of Bucs fans. They were all to my left, but they were the most, if they listen to this, which I know they won't, they were the most boring Bucs fans ever. Every time something big happened, I would turn to them and be like, let's go. And they're just sitting there like this in the cold. I was like, I like finally said something and I was like, are y'all not entertained? And this guy just got up and fist bumped me. And I was like, okay, like I guess he just did not want anything to do with me. Either way, these two guys below me, a few sections, were just trash talking me the whole time, calling me the worst names ever. These Panthers fans were the meanest people I've ever seen. They were calling
They're in your video, right?
Yeah, they're in my video. They were calling me every name in the book, all the curse words, all the dumb A's and dumb B's and all the things. And I just was having fun chirping back. I was like, Panthers suck. And they're like, did you see that? I think there was one play, Yaya Diaby tackled Chuba Hubbard, but they got a first down. But it was like 20 seconds left. This was before the touchdown throw to Adam Thielen. I was like, oh, great. And it's in bounds. Clock is rolling. Like, I was so happy. And he's like, that was a first down, you dumb. And I was like, whoa. And then that's when I turned it on. I was like, that kind of made me mad. So then I was like, all right. And I turned to Shep. I was like, might have to hold me back. He's like, nah, do whatever you want. I was like, all right, bet. So then I just started chirping at this guy, and it was an ongoing chirp the entire time. Like, I thought at some point we might fight. Like, there might come down to a point where this guy's going to come up here and try to, like, sucker punch me or something, and I'll have to hit some, like, Bruce Lee, I don't know. But it was when they scored the touchdown, they all look at me, and they're yelling at me, calling me every name, making fun of me. And I'm like, you left too much time. You left too much time for Baker. And next thing you know, Baker was throwing dots, timeout, kicked the field goal. Chase McLaughlin, dude, he is so good, by the way. Also, he's the leading scorer on our team this season. He has like 97 points scored. He's crazy.
Most kickers do take that.
Yeah, really. Most kickers do get that, but he's just been on. And so he kicks it, sends us into overtime. And I was like, what'd I say? And these guys weren't talking to me. And then we won the coin toss, and I'm like, all right, bye. But then we couldn't convert. So we get there, we go for a 55-yarder. And Chase usually hits those, but it went wide left. There was something with that side of the field. So they were coming towards us, which we were on the, I'd like to say south side, but I could be wrong. Essentially, they were kicking towards the side of the field that their kicker had missed like 2 field goals on that day. There was something weird with that side. I don't know what was going on. Maybe the wind. But he misses it. 55 misses it. Then they start driving. Adam Thielen has that insane one-hand catch, and they're in field goal range now, and they're all making fun of me. They're like, game's over, buddy. Like, we just got to run it out and kick a field goal and we win. And I'm sitting there like, oh, this sucks. Like, you don't want to lose this way. And then Anthony Nelson, man, you may not know who that is, and that's okay. He is a very underrated defensive player for us. He has been so good this season. In seasons past, he has always been such a good role player. Well, Chuba Hubbard runs right up the middle, but he pops it out. Ball flies away. I had so much anxiety because Yaya Diaby was taking 100 years to dive on this ball. He was right there. The Panthers almost got it back. Like, it was almost a disaster, but we landed on it, and the rest was history. We made some crucial catches, and then Rashad White had that 30-yard run to put us like 22 yards out for a chip-in field goal. Yeah. We win the game. By the way, as soon as Chuba Hubbard fumbled that ball, all those fans that were heckling me left. And as they were leaving, I was like, bye. Like, I was being so toxic with them.
Bryce, don't forget, you represent Jesus in the streets.
Yeah, I do. But I also don't appreciate being talked to poorly. So,
well, I'm sure Jesus wouldn't have appreciated it, but how would he have handled it?
Try Jesus, don't try me, is what I would say. Okay. I'm not Jesus. So, anyways, I was yelling bye at them, and they just, like, ignored me. Oh, the last thing the kids said to me was, well, you're not making the playoffs either, so... And I was like, that's your best comeback? And he just walked away. I was like, I got him. I was in his head rent-free. Anyways, to your take last week, Bryce Young did play well. He played really great in the pocket. He played great in zone coverage. And one other thing I wanted to share, and I'll kind of wrap up my rants off rip for this game. Stick to man coverage. This is, I think, the biggest thing that the Bucs need to learn going into next week. Okay, we're playing the Raiders, another week. The worst team in the AFC, by the way. Arguably, the worst team. Worst record.
Not arguably.
Yeah. They are the worst team in the AFC, and we need to go in there and play man coverage. Let me give you some stats. I thought these were really cool. Bryce Young was at his best passing against the Buccaneers zone coverage this past weekend. 23 of 32 attempts for a season high of 242 yards against the zone coverage. So that was great. Against man coverage, Young completed just 3 passes of 14 attempts for 56 yards. He was also productive on passes under 10 air yards, completing 21 of 25 attempts for a season high 185 yards. Our man coverage was really good, really sticky. Our pass rush was getting to him in just enough time to make him make dumb decisions, throw it into the ground, throw it out of bounds. If we want to succeed this season, I think we got to stick to that man coverage. I know it's harder on the guys. It's a bit more tiring. Obviously, you don't want to play man coverage for 5 to 10 seconds during a play. That's a lot of running. That's a lot of adjusting. Yep. But it's working, and our guys are executing the man coverage really well. So I would love for, in the next 5 weeks, for Todd Bowles to dial up more man coverage scenarios. He loves the blitz, so why not just do more blitzes, man up? Because our man coverage was working against Bryce. It's been working all season, and I think that if something's working, stick to that, because our defense is not good right now. It's playing very, very bad, and if we just stick to what works, we could win. But I know Todd Bowles loves that zone defense, and that's kind of like Tampa Bay's identity for the last 30 years is, we created the Tampa 2. Like, the cover 2, the cover 3s, your cover 4s, your cover 6s, cover 9 cloud. I could name all these different zone packages that we run. In theory, they should work, but they're not. And I think if we just stick to man coverage, we could keep our offense off the field a little bit longer and give our opponents a lot harder time, getting third downs and getting in the end zone. So, great game. I'm glad we got the win. It was an incredible game to be at, and it was a lot of fun.
That's great, man. I'm glad you got to go. There's nothing like live football, no matter where you're watching it, no matter who's playing. I'm glad you got to be in a stadium and feel the roar of the crowd and all those things and the highs and lows of the game.
There was no one there. I think there was probably more Bucs fans than there were Panthers.
Why didn't y'all move down?
I don't know.
To Tanner's point, the ankle injury did look bad.
Yeah.
I think you saw it.
It
but
did.
I was going back and forth between this game and the Ravens and Eagles, and funny enough, I found myself watching this game more, which is crazy. The injury looked bad, and when he went off and I saw Kyle Trask put his helmet on and start throwing, I'm like, oh boy, this could
Me too.
This could be really bad, not just for this game, but for the rest of the season and for the podcast.
Bro, one other thing I will say about that game, in the overtime, Baker had a crucial 10-yard run to get a first down to extend the drive.
Yeah, that was after the injury.
He limped after it.
Yeah, I remember that.
And it just goes to show, I'm not here, I love Baker, and everybody who listens to this pod knows that. It is incredible to see a player who's in that much pain after hurting his ankle that bad go out there and book it despite that. That didn't feel good. I just love that he put himself on the line for that. He'll do whatever it takes to win, and I think, our fans love that. We are so... it is so fun to watch Baker play.
Yeah, he's got that dog mentality, man. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, hey, I told you so on Bryce Young. And that dude is playing different since his benching. And I'm glad for him, man, because he looks like a competent quarterback now. And it gives those fans, even though they have no hope for anything this season, it gives them something to be excited for and expectant about for next season. And even the rest of this season. You cannot overlook the Panthers for the rest of this year just because of simply the way that he's playing. Good quarterbacks elevate the play of those around them. So you ask about an Adam Thielen and, hey, is he just amazing, or is it the defense is bad, or what is it? I think it's a combination of those two things and the fact that Bryce Young is better, man. He's reading things better. He's making better throws. Adam Thielen's good, but I think we'd all agree that his prime years are behind him. But he's making incredible catches and stuff. And there were a couple of like, hey, Adam Thielen just elevated his ability to make that catch. And I get that. But for the most part, a lot of credit has to be given to Bryce Young and the way that he's playing now. And I'm pumped. I'm pumped for Panthers fans. Obviously, it's not good for your division, right? Because you get to see them twice a year. So if they start to ascend, well, you said that before the game too, brother. And then
we play them again in a few weeks.
Do you? Okay. It'll be something to look forward to then.
I agree with you on Panthers, man. Like,
we'll see.
Especially the last 2 weeks. They've given the Chiefs and us like a run for our money. And to your point, I don't think they're going to just hold back. I mean, of course, a draft position is going to be really important to them, but also they're not just sitting back. I think they genuinely are giving Bryce Young like the go. Hey, go try to win these games. Like, and these guys are going to be behind you because we need these reps. So if I were a Panthers fan, which I never will be, I would be very excited about next year because next year can look a whole lot different with the team's mentality like this. And if Bryce Young can improve from this and go into next year with that swagger and that confidence, then I would be more worried about them for sure come next year.
And you mentioned the draft pick. If they're going to have a top 5 pick, now they might be saying, hey, we don't have to draft a quarterback. Whereas the first 6-8 weeks of the season, you're thinking, absolutely, we're going to draft a quarterback. You're not going to ride with Andy Dalton. Bryce Young's not working out. We need to pick a quarterback. But now they might be changing their tune on that. We'll see. We'll see what he does through. I mean, it can't just be based off of 2 games. He's got to remain consistent from here on out. But if he's able to do that, I think it makes things real interesting for this Panthers organization for sure.
I agree.
Let's move on to our next segment. We're going to hit some hot topics around the league. The game of the week that we dubbed last week was the Eagles going into Baltimore to face the Ravens. And man, they did just that, and they beat them. And they beat them pretty good, bro.
I don't think I saw this one coming. I mean, I knew the Eagles were good, but I think in the back of my mind, I just thought the Ravens were going to get a dub here.
Yeah.
But, I mean, and to be fair, every game, every given Sunday, we talk about that every week on the pod. You can't miss the amount of field goals Justin Tucker missed and win a game.
Right.
And now he's... Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, we're going to get into that for sure because it's becoming a big factor in the outcomes for this team. But just to stay with the Philadelphia side of things real quick, I mean, this is a team that is now dominating people. They are imposing their will on teams. Doesn't matter if they're in Philly, Baltimore, wherever they're at. They haven't lost since week 4 when they were 2-2. They've won 8 straight. And they're rolling, dude. This team they're on a hot streak, and it's hard to see now with the not emergence. I mean, he's obviously been consistent all season, but I think the past few weeks now we've been talking more about Saquon Barkley. Jalen Hurts is having a nice season. I believe he's 14-5, 14 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Mm-hmm. It's not an MVP season, but he doesn't need to do that, right? I mean, he's not had to produce at that level. You've obviously got the weapons on the outside in A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert. This team, and then the defense, dude, that defensive line is insanely good. That dude from Georgia, Jalen Carter, that boy is something else, man. There aren't a whole lot of work. I'm big on, dude, that dude, he's quality. I'm big on him. Yeah. They got a steal when they got him where they did in the draft. But I don't know, man. This team looks good, and to go on the road and beat a team like Baltimore, we both had Baltimore winning that game. Didn't happen. Obviously, that's a big statement win for the Eagles. On the other side of things, you got the Ravens teetering, man. And you mentioned it, the Justin Tucker situation. It's obviously been a sore spot for Ravens fans over the past few weeks. This is what's happening. I don't want to go through some stats. And the question I would pose to you is, have we seen the end of the Justin Tucker era of dominance? And you don't have to answer, but I'm going to throw some things at you. This is just what's happening. So just Sunday, this is what happened. Missed 2 field goals and 1 extra point. That's 7 possible points that he left on the board, right? Now, you're not expecting kickers to make every kick, okay?
No.
So it is what it is. You can take that for what it's worth, but when they end up losing by 5, obviously field goals matter in a game that close. He made from 34 yards and 50, and he missed from 47 and 53. He's 19 of 27 on the season. 7 of those 8 misses have gone wide left. So there's been a lot of talk about the technique. Hey, what's going on? Like, it's not just a fluke that you've missed 7 of 8 in the exact same spot. Why is this happening? And he knows it too. And they asked him about it. He said he felt crushed at the end of this game. He felt like he let the team down. He recognizes that he's missing them left. He's a smart guy. I mean, if anybody can figure this out, it's him. So we'll see if it actually happens. But I think he knows what he's doing, and knows what he's doing wrong as well. What's crazy is he's never missed more than 7 field goals in a season before this year. So his entire career, he's not been this inconsistent. If you want to make the argument that his missed field goals and extra point cost them this game, which I don't know if it did or didn't, I'm sure a lot of Ravens fans would say it did. That's one game potentially decided by the kicker. You could also go back a couple weeks ago when they played the Steelers, and the Steelers, made 6 field goals and won that game, and Justin Tucker missed 2 field goals in that game, and they lost that game by 2. So are they now losing games because of the kicker, which is crazy to think about, and it's never just one thing. My brother called me. He wanted to talk about this game. We went through it in detail. He wanted to talk about Justin Tucker specifically. I gave him my unbiased opinion. His opinion as a diehard Ravens fan was that this dude is losing us games. And so I wonder if that is what many Ravens fans feel like. Hey, we would be a better team if somebody else was kicking. I don't know if John Harbaugh has the guts to make a move like that and either cut him or sit him down and sign somebody. Comment? What did he say?
John Harbaugh, I think either today or in the last presser he had, was talking about Justin Tucker, and he just showed absolute confidence in him.
Yeah, respect. That's what I thought.
And I think that's what coach needs to do in the moment. I wonder in the back of his mind is if he's like, man, this guy's a few missed away from being benched here. Whereas Tampa literally released their punter on Monday, and our punter shanked 2 punts on Sunday. I think that you have to give your kicker confidence. You have to say you have to, as a coach, be like, no, this is our guy. We believe in him. But also, I feel like the kicker position is so much mental. The mental part of the kicker position is almost just as important as the tangible physical aspect of being
maybe more so than any other position in football. It's that position.
I would argue, 100%, because even if they got rid of Justin Tucker, another team would take a chance. They say, okay, let's get him. But that would always be in the back of his mind. And who knows, maybe wide left will be what he hits for the rest of his life, because that's just a mental thing. I don't know.
The yips, man. That's a real thing in not just football, but all sports. It's crazy. I mean, it's crazy to see what's happening. And we'll get into the MVP picture and what the Ravens' overall record looks like a little bit later, so I don't want to give too much away. But it's wild to think that a guy that we've seen in our lifetime be so dominant at that position and literally not miss. I mean, we just got used to, Justin Tucker's kicking, it's going to be good.
Yeah.
My brother's been in attendance for him to kick, I want to say more than one 60-plus yarder. So it's just he's a good kick. He's always been a good kicker. It's weird to see, and we'll see what happens with that going forward. I saw a tweet, and we'll move on from this, that said it's a text from between a wife and a husband, and the wife said, "Hey, don't forget your daughter's first dance recital is tonight." And he sends her a picture of Justin Tucker, and she says, "What does that mean?" And he says, "I'm gonna miss it."
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Hey, the Bills are rolling, dude. The Bills are rolling. And what team is better built to play in the snow than Buffalo?
Cleveland Browns.
Maybe. You might be right, honestly. That might be right. But they play at home against San Francisco in a snow bowl and absolutely crushed the 49ers 35-10. They clinched the AFC East for the 5th straight year, which I thought was crazy because the AFC East used to be Tom Brady's division, right?
Yeah.
And he owned that thing, and nobody else ever won it but the Patriots. And now the Bills have seemingly taken over that spot, and nobody can beat them when it comes to the division race. So they clinched their 5th straight, which is cool. Josh Allen, 14 of it. This is a crazy stat line.
Go ahead.
Josh Allen, 14 of 18, 173 total yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown, 1 receiving touchdown. He dabbled in everything in the snow out there in Buffalo.
He scored every possible way he could.
Like, pretty much, aside from kicking.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. Get this. From StatMuse, he's the only quarterback ever to have 1 passing touchdown, 1 rushing touchdown, and 1 receiving touchdown in the same game.
Oh, snap. First time ever.
First quarterback ever. I'm not sure that anybody else has ever done it at another position. But
that play was so strange to me, the receiving touchdown play. And maybe you could break this down for me, don't understand how the hook and ladder becomes him as a receiver catching the pass. Because
I think he throws the ball out there and he's just kind of, as a lot of players kind of do, just kind of jogging towards the action. They're not expecting to get involved, but they're just like, the play's not over, so we're going to move until it is. And then he finds himself in position to receive this. Obviously, it wasn't planned. And Amari Cooper is stopped, and he's looking, and he's like, oh, there's Josh. Here you go, bro. And he throws that thing, which is dangerous given those elements. But obviously, it worked out for them, which is great. But that was crazy.
Why did it count as a receiving touchdown when it was a backwards lateral? Shouldn't that have been a rushing touchdown?
No, because the initial action was a pass.
Right, but it was a pass. He had
so everything that happens after that is considered a pass.
Oh, okay.
A lateral is considered a pass.
Gotcha. Well,
unless it's crazy. A pitch. If you're pitching it backwards, it's a run. If it's any sort of shove or overhand throw, it's considered a pass.
Gotcha. Well, that was crazy. And the only other time I've ever seen a quarterback receive a touchdown on the stat line that he threw to himself, technically.
Brett Favre. Or no, not Brett Favre.
Marcus Mariota.
Marcus Mariota. Yeah, I do remember that play.
And it got batted down. He caught it and just ran it in.
I know Brett Favre. I think Brett Favre's first career completion was to himself, right? Wasn't that the...
I don't know.
Or it was for somebody, but he threw it, got batted up, he caught it, whatever. No, that was a crazy game, man. It stinks on the 49ers side. And I would venture to say they're still not out of this only because of how weak that division is. Again, if we go back to my take from a couple weeks ago, I believe that division winner will not win 10 games. And if that happens, the 49ers are still in the mix. But look, in reality, they're not going to be able to accomplish much if they're not healthy, right?
Yeah.
And McCaffrey now going to miss at least 6 weeks, if not.
Did you see the no contact play?
Well, no, it wasn't. He had injured it a couple plays before that. Mm-hmm. And then he caught that pitch and went to run around the side, and it just, I don't know.
He just slid. I was watching it, and it just looked so uncomfortable for him. I almost wonder, what was the decision heading into a snow game to start a dude who just had tendonitis 2 weeks ago?
You can't not. If he says he's healthy, you're not going to not play him, dude. And that's a big game.
I get it, but, man, I wonder, had he just sat that one out, because of his tendonitis, would he have been, who knows? Woulda, coulda, hindsight's 2020.
Yeah. I don't think that's ever a decision anybody's going to make. He wants to play. The coaches want him to play. They have to win that game. They're in a division race. I understand what you're saying, given the elements and stuff. Yeah. But given the situation, I feel like there was no way he wasn't playing. So you can't fault them for having him on the field. It just stinks to see, man. It's like this guy can't stay healthy. And when he is healthy, he's one of the best in the league, if not the best. And it's unfortunate that he can't stay on the field. It's unfortunate for him. It's unfortunate for that team and fan base. And all the best to him in his recovery, man. It stinks. I hope he can take time to get healthy. Honestly, I hope we don't see him anymore this season. I hope he gets healthy, recuperates, does what he needs to do, have surgery if you need it. Just come back healthy for 2025. Yeah, that's what I hope for him.
That Madden curse hit him hard. I want to know, though. I want to know what happened to Jordan Mason. He's going to the IR. I didn't see what happened.
Yeah, so I don't actually know what happened to him either. I only read that headline. Yeah. So I don't know if we can find that. But yeah, that's what's crazy about this too. Might even make this situation worse about McCaffrey is that Jordan Mason also headed to IR. There go your top 2 backs in one game. Now they're going to look to the rookie. I don't even remember his name. I can't pronounce. It's like Isaiah. I'm not even going to try it, dude. I'll butcher
how the tables have turned. What is it? Now say the name. Go ahead, say it.
We're not going to clip this.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I don't even remember his last name. Otherwise, I would say it. But
it's
somebody's got it somewhere.
Guerendo.
Isaiah Guerendo. Whatever.
I think they start Deebo Samuel back there. I think they kind of go back to, well, that's how they used to do things.
So they can get him hurt too?
Dang. Actually, I don't know. Their season's over, in my opinion. So I don't care what they do back there.
It's going to be tough for them to make any noise. All I'm saying is there are teams in worse situations. So I don't think that they're completely out of it. They're not going to play like they're out of it. They're not going to lay down. It's just a matter of, do they have enough talent that's healthy now for them to have a shot? And I don't know if they do or not. I'm not sure. We'll see. What about the Bengals? Did you see this game? The Bengals and the Steelers, we both had the Bengals in this one, and Let's come up short, man.
The shootout, man.
The shootout, which, again, nobody had this. We might have thought, and I, in fact, did think that the Bengals would have that number, but certainly did not see the Steelers finishing with 44 points. But they get it on the road, and they beat the Bengals in Cincinnati to move to 9-3. Got to give flowers where flowers are due, man. Russell Wilson had a game.
Are the Steelers top 3 in the AFC?
I got to give flowers where flowers are due, man. Russell Wilson had a game.
Are the Steelers top 3 in the AFC?
I got to give flowers.
Are the Steelers top 3? Okay, check this out. I want to say this. The Bengals record this season, you have the stat here. I want to read it. The Bengals record this season when scoring 33 points is 2-4.
Yep.
That stinks, dude. And if I were a Bengals fan, I would be sick to my stomach. And as a Bucs fan, I can relate. Obviously, our season is not as far gone as theirs is, and they're still technically in the race. Technically.
Yep, they are.
But as a Bucs fan, I've been seeing some of the same crap this season. I think the Bengals and the Bucs defense are in a similar boat of the opposite side of the ball is doing an excellent job of getting the ball downfield, scoring touchdowns, and putting their defense in great position to win the game. And their defense is just coming up short.
Right.
Where I could feel how they're feeling, man. That record of 2-4 with 33 points scored is ridiculous. It's stupid. It shouldn't happen. You got to figure it out. Maybe, like, low-key, fire the defensive coordinator after the season. Like, get something figured out. It's not like these players on the defense all single-handedly suck and they're all the worst at their positions. That is not the case. There's some good guys on that defense. They just got to figure it out, man. I don't know what's going on.
Bryce, what's even more crazy about the 2-4 record when scoring 33 points is that the rest of the league, and this stat comes from the Pat McAfee show, the rest of the league record this season when scoring 33 points is 52-1.
What's the one?
I don't know. We'd have to figure that out. One other team scored 33 and lost this year.
It's probably Tampa, dude. That's crazy.
Isn't that crazy? So the fact that the Bengals can't find success despite scoring that much is wild. I think the Browns, before last night, there was a stat for the Browns that anytime they scored over 18, they were 3-0 until last night. 18 points. And we can't even sniff 33, bro. And the Bengals do that on the reg, and they don't win. Yeah, that's just insane to me, dude. That's insane. Yeah. The Bengals, having lost those 4 games when scoring 30 points or more this season, they tie the Chiefs, the 2002 Chiefs, for the most in a single season in NFL history. Most games to score over 30 points and lose with 4. That's just insane to me, dude. And this defense is fully to blame. Put this Bengals offense with, say, the Chargers defense, and you have an AFC juggernaut.
You have the best team in the league. Yeah, basically crazy. The Bills.
Basically. This Bengals defense has allowed 34 or more points 6 times this season. Not a winning formula.
Okay, so my question to you is, what do we blame? I mean, is it the coordinator? Is it the coach?
I don't know if you saw First Take today or yesterday or whatever, but if you're Stephen A. Smith, you're blaming Joe Burrow.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because his stats are incredible, but yeah, let's blame old Joe Shiesty.
Are you pulling it up? He only leads the league in passing yards and passing touchdowns. This dude's insane. Did you see that the Bengals' recent play brought Chad Ochocinco to tears?
I did, dude. I saw Chad. Well, I think it's because he doesn't get to eat McDonald's for the rest of the season. I don't know if you saw that bet he made, but he was going to put $20 on it, and then instead he decided not to. I could not imagine not being able to eat McDonald's for an entire year. That'd make me cry, dude.
That'd be sad. So sad. That would be sad. Let's hit our last hot topic, and then we'll get into some other segments, but I want to talk quickly about this because it's a piece of news that's kind of circulating right now, and that's the Trevor Lawrence concussion. I'm sure you saw this hit by now.
A clean hit. I'm kidding. No, that was terrible.
Wow, we were about to have a discussion.
POV
Well, what's
on
crazy,
D'Amico Ryans.
I was just going to say, you wouldn't be the only one with that opinion, which is wild. We all saw the play by now. Azeez Al-Shaair just today got suspended, as of when we're recording this podcast on Tuesday, got suspended for 3 games.
Yeah.
So whether or not you believe that's fair punishment, that is what the NFL laid down. Adam Schefter released their entire letter to him, which I thought was crazy. It's like you can read word for word what the NFL said to Azeez in their letter.
It's weird.
It felt kind of like a scolding. It's very weird to read.
Yeah.
But at any rate, 3 games is the punishment. Now you had D'Amico Ryans coming out in his presser afterwards saying that Trevor Lawrence deserves blame, or at least partial blame, because he didn't slide right. It's wild, dude.
Well, here's the thing, dude.
That is a wild. Jim, let me just say, that is a wild thing to say when somebody's health is on the line.
Yes.
This dude's literally in a hospital.
Yeah.
And he spent a minute and a half talking about how he could have slid better and how quarterbacks need to be better about sliding and how their sideline started some stuff and created a fight or whatever. Dude, focus on the thing, man. And the thing is, hey, let's hope that Trevor is healthy and can recover from this. Come on, dude. It was in poor taste. Whether you think he has a point or not, it was in poor taste in that moment to bring that up.
I don't think he has a point. The only thing I think he does have is the player's point of view. He was on the field when it happened, and when you're going full speed, sometimes you can't stop. And yes, he could have let off maybe or done something, but maybe D'Amico Ryans saw something we did not see.
Not to mention he is a former player, so he's got the true player's perspective.
Yeah, like there's no, like you don't know really what that feels like. Of course, you're watching on TV and you watch it from the booth, and then Roger Goodell's watching in his office while he's writing the suspension letter, whatever. You just have to think, like, yeah, we see it from that point of view, and it looked so bad. It looked blatant. It looked terrible. Yeah. I saw the guy, Azeez, when he got on his knees, he was like this. Like, he was so confused. They threw a flag.
Like, dude, put your hands down, dog.
You know exactly
what you did.
But if I'm just playing devil's advocate here, we don't know what it's like to be the football player running full speed. And maybe D'Amico has some sort of ground to say, hey, Trevor's supposed to slide maybe 1 second before he did, and that late slide, caused an unfortunate hit. I'd be interested to see what Trevor has to say when he comes to and he's feeling better. Maybe he will say, like, hey, actually, I saw him coming in and I slid right into him. Like, we only have the tiny box camera angle that we have. We don't know how far he was running. That's the only advocate I'll play in that. Of course, I think it was dirty. I think the suspension is fine. I don't think either of these teams matter. So, it is what it is.
You think the Jags should shut down Trevor Lawrence for the rest of the season?
I think, yeah. Put him on the bench. Dude's been off this season anyways, and the team hasn't looked good, and Doug Peterson needs to go. And next season, man, just start fresh. Wipe your hands clean. Let Mac Jones finish it out. By the way, Mac Jones came in and rallied that team. Played
pretty
decent.
Played pretty well.
Played rather decent, and let him play for the rest of the season. Their season's over. There's absolutely, I don't even know what the percentage is, but I would say it's very low that they have 0% chance of making the playoffs. So rest your best starters. If there's some guys who want to get reps and who still want to play just for the fun of the game, let them go out there and compete. But for the most part, don't let any of your players get injured that you need next season, because you're going to obviously want to go back in all in next season. But I think their season's over. They should definitely put him on the bench unless Trevor Lawrence comes back from concussion. He's like, hey, I actually think these, next 3 or 4 games that I get to participate in, I really need those reps. I want to go back out there. I want to throw to the guys. I want to feel it. That way, going into the offseason, I have a little bit of stuff to work on. Yeah.
I get it. I agree with you. I think they should shut him down. They've got a lot invested in this dude. Multiple millions of dollars over the next few years. Too much on the line to put him back out there. God forbid he were to get hit in the head again. Something happens. Something freak happens that's even worse than a concussion. Like, who knows? I just don't think they should risk it. There's nothing to play for this season. We'll see what they decide to do, but it'll be interesting. But all we know right now is that Azeez gets the 3 games, and we'll see. TBD on Trevor Lawrence return. We'll see.
Hope for the best, man. Next up, let's take a look at our playoff picture, Mitch. This is currently the playoff picture as of the Browns and Broncos game on Monday night.
Right.
here are our standings. I got some teams that are in the hunt, but let's just take a look at this first.
Okay.
Right off the rip, what are your thoughts?
Well, I'm looking at this NFC bracket. To me, I see at least one fraud, if not two.
Who?
I'm not a believer in Atlanta, period, man. I don't, they're not a 4 seed. If they end up with a home game against the Vikings, they can enjoy their one playoff game that they're going to get, and then they can go home after that. That team, to me, is just ultra inconsistent. Well, their record shows it. They're 6-6. Unfortunately, that division's very bad, so 6-6 right now is good enough for first place. Bro, I'm sorry. The Bucs, it is what it is. They're still not top in this division, even at 6-6, so it is what it is. But what's interesting to me is that race for the NFC South is going to be interesting. Can the Bucs overcome the Falcons at the end of the season when it's all said and done? I think that they will. I don't know that they will. I think that they will. That's quickly becoming a division where you might not have to go 11-6 or 10-7. You might be able to go 9-8 and make the playoffs in that division, depending on what the Falcons do from here on out. Now, obviously, you need to finish with a better record than they get because they have the tiebreaker there. But just don't trust the Falcons, man. So I think expect some things to happen to that 4 seed. And then I look at the 7 seed and Washington. They played great on Sunday. Is this a team that's going to be able to hang on? I'm not sure. I mean, we'll see. I think they've got the offensive firepower to do it. We'll see if it's really going to depend on the play of Jaden Daniels moving forward. You got a lot of teams nipping at their heels to kind of get in there. You mentioned the teams that are in the hunt. We can go through this. At 8 right now, you've got the Buccaneers at 6-6. You've got at 9, the Cardinals at 6-6. You've got the Rams at 10, also at 6-6. And then the 49ers hanging by a thread, 5-7. I mean, right now, I believe the Commanders are 7-5 or 8-5. Let me double check. Yeah. So right now the Commanders are currently 8-5. So they hold a 1.5 game lead over all of those 6-6 teams trying to get that last wild card spot. Again, a lot can change. There's still 5+ weeks of the season. A lot can change. We'll just have to see. I don't know. Do they have enough offensive firepower to stay in front of those other teams? We'll see. Again, I did kind of predict that Jaden Daniels would slide, and that already happened. I think they're kind of trying to come out of that. And again, if he can play consistently well, I could see Washington keeping the 7th spot. You look over to the AFC and things look a little bit different. I mean, you asked me about my top 3. You asked me about Pittsburgh. I gave Russell Wilson his flowers. I gave that offense their credit where it was due.
Sure.
They showed out. Still, if I am just projecting forward to the end of the season, which is what I'm doing, and now come see me again in 3 more weeks, okay? But still, I like the Bills, Chiefs, and Ravens as my top 3 teams at the end of the year. Not right now. Obviously, not right now, but at the end of the year. I'm not yelling at you.
Okay, dude, I hear you.
But I like the Ravens to kind of overcome these kicking woes, overcome the defensive. That defense is looking better in recent weeks. So if they could just make a few kicks, man, we're having a different discussion. So I still believe in Baltimore. I still believe in their ability to capture a top 3 seed. I still am just unsure about Pittsburgh's consistency on offense. Again, they may prove me wrong over the next 3 weeks, but that's what I look at there. But regardless, that 6-3 matchup between Baltimore and Pittsburgh would be a sick first round playoff game. Here's the other thing I'll say, and I'm going to get more into this when we get into our take it or leave it, but Denver at the 7 seed, don't know if I'm bought in on Denver at the 7 seed or at any seed, to be honest. And that's just after getting an up close and personal look at them last night on Monday Night Football. You got the Colts at 6-7. You've got the Dolphins at 5-7. You got the Bengals at 4-8. So really, Denver might make it only because everybody else is not good enough to pressure them for that last seed. They might just end up being there because there's no other team that's good enough to kind of put any heat on them. But I'm not sure I'm solely convinced on Denver yet at 7.
Here's what I'll say. For the AFC, I think what the picture we're seeing right now is locked. Now, the order at which teams will play, it can change, but I don't think this playoff picture is changing. I think these are going to be the teams. The Colts have a 27% chance of making the playoffs, and they're the first team in the hunt. That tells me that the likelihood that a new team enters the 7-team playoff picture is very, very little. For the NFC, it's a bit different. You know, the Buccaneers have a 57% chance to inch into the spot, and if Kirk Cousins keeps trending towards the way he's been playing the last 4 weeks, terrible QB play, inexcusable. And we'll talk about my my take it or leave it's later about how I feel like the Falcons are doing. I see us getting into that spot, and I could see the Cardinals maybe getting in if the Seahawks lose some games. Again, the NFC is a lot more different, and the chances here are far more on a leaper scale of weighing differently. Here's what I'll say: if the season ended today, I think the Bills get to their first Super Bowl. Detroit Lions versus Bills.
Yes.
If the race ended today, if the season ended today, but it's not. But that is my projection.
Yeah, of course.
I'm interested to know what's yours. If the season ended today, what would you do?
This could mix up. We obviously know there's a lot of football left to play. One of my take it or leave it's, and I'm not going to say it anymore, because I'm going to say it right now, is that the Bills and Lions will play in the Super Bowl. That is what I think is going to happen. And honestly, that is what I want to happen, dude.
Me too.
There aren't two fan
Bucs.
bases. There aren't two fan bases that are more like Cleveland than Buffalo and Detroit. We're all like buddies up there around the Great Lakes. And so I'm rooting for the Bills and I'm rooting for the Lions just as a fan of football and as a fan of loyal fans. Like I want to see those fan bases experience a Super Bowl, and I think that'd be really cool. So I love the take Bills versus Lions in the Super Bowl. But again, there's a lot that could happen between now and then. They might snag a higher seed by that time. So obviously things could mix up, but Detroit does get the worst seeded team to come out of that first round. But it's going to be a fun playoffs, dude. I'm excited for that part of the season to start. And we've got a lot of quality teams, but also some fresh teams that we aren't used to seeing in the mix. And so it'll be neat to see kind of how it all shakes out in the end. Hey, I think you got a game that we want to play real quick before we get into our take it or leave it. This is kind of something new you're going to roll out. Hit me with it.
So this game is going to be really fun. I'm going to give Mitchell some players, and he's going to pick which player he wants to keep. And it's going to be like a 1v1, this player versus this player.
King of the hill kind of thing. I'm just
King of the
one.
hill. He's going to pick one, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
We're going to be doing running backs today.
All
so
right, let's do it.
Give me your...
Hang on. Are you just going to bait me? Is that what you plan to do?
I will not bait you, I promise. On purpose. I won't try to bait you on purpose.
Okay, all right.
Okay. You got Najee Harris or James Cook.
Dang, that's a good one right off rip. Give me the way they're playing right now, Najee Harris.
Okay. Najee Harris or DeAndre Swift.
Najee Harris.
Najee Harris or David Montgomery.
David Montgomery.
David Montgomery or a healthy asterisk J.K. Dobbins.
David Montgomery.
Okay. David Montgomery or James Conner.
David Montgomery.
David Montgomery or Bijan Robinson.
They're such different running backs. David Montgomery.
David Montgomery or Aaron Jones.
David Montgomery.
David Montgomery or Kyron Williams.
Man, he's having a great season, but I feel like he's under the radar because of the team's play. David Montgomery. This is weird.
David Montgomery or Josh Jacobs.
Josh Jacobs.
Okay, finally. Josh Jacobs or Bucky Irving.
Josh Jacobs.
Josh Jacobs or Jahmyr Gibbs.
Josh Jacobs.
Josh Jacobs or Chuba Hubbard.
Josh Jacobs.
Josh Jacobs or Joe Mixon.
This season? Josh Jacobs.
Josh Jacobs or Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry or Nick Chubb.
Derrick Henry, man. All love to Nick Chubb. Derrick Henry this year, obviously.
Derrick Henry or Ramondre Stevenson.
Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry or Saquon Barkley.
Now we're talking. It's gotta be Saquon.
You take Saquon?
Saquon.
Okay, Saquon Barkley or Brian Robinson.
Saquon.
Saquon Barkley or Lamar Jackson.
I think that's where this ends.
He's on the list for running backs.
Whatever list you're reading is doing him dirty.
No, it's just the rushing yards this season.
That's crazy.
Lamar's like top 25 in rushing yards.
Saquon, man.
Okay,
I mean, no, yeah, I'm not
You
doing
done?
that one. I'm not doing that one.
You don't think anybody beats Saquon?
Do you have anybody you think could? You didn't say
Nope.
Jonathan Taylor, but I don't think I'd pick Jonathan Taylor.
No, I didn't.
Yeah,
There's a couple I didn't say on purpose, but
that's
yeah.
fine. Yeah, I like that. I like ending up with Saquon when we're talking about running backs. That's a pretty good.
You were on David Montgomery for a while.
Had
David Montgomery. I named a lot of players who are doing better than him this season, but you stuck with him. So that's crazy.
I don't know. Maybe it's the Lions' love that I've been given this season.
I should have said David Montgomery versus Jahmyr Gibbs and seen what you did. But
that would have been interesting. Well, that was fun. Maybe next week we can do a different position. That'd be cool.
Yeah, that'd be great.
All right. Cool. Let's get into our next segment, our popular segment on the show. We call it Take It or Leave It. Shout out to my brother for the name. I'm going to start this one because our first opinions are very similar, okay? Our first opinions are very similar, but they're different, if that makes sense. You're going to understand how. My first Take It or Leave It, Bryce. Take it or leave it. The Bucs are spiraling. Take it or leave it.
I mean, leave it. What kind of dumb comment is that? Respectfully.
Well, what kind of dumb comment was the Chiefs are spiraling?
Dude, did you see the Raiders game?
Because
We didn't talk about it yet.
those takes are very similar. Because all the reasons you gave me as to why the Chiefs are spiraling apply to the Bucs in this scenario.
Only based off the Chiefs, but I'll give you, or based off the Panthers game, Chiefs versus Panthers.
Right. You said going
this-
into the Chiefs games, hang on. You said going into the Chiefs Panthers game that the Panthers are the worst team in the league and that there's no way the Chiefs should lose to them or even play them close. You said because they played them close that meant the Chiefs were descending somehow, even though they won. You said because it was a close game to such a terrible team that meant that supported your claim that the Chiefs are spiraling.
Right.
So I'm here to...
I said that last week, and that was a take based off of how the Panthers were playing up to that point. Now, the Panthers carried that momentum into playing us, which goes to show me that wasn't just a fluke game they had against the Chiefs, but they actually have been improving.
Okay, so are you ready to say the Chiefs are not spiraling anymore?
Well, let's talk about this Raiders game. See, you can make a claim that the Bucs are spiraling after this game because we would have had two identical matchups.
Whatever you're pounding on, it sounds like the atomic bomb is going off. Okay, all right. Enough. Dude.
Listen.
I'm listening.
After we play the Raiders this weekend, and depending on how that game goes, and if it's as close as the Raiders or Chiefs game that just happened on Friday, last week, which, holy crap, I can't believe we haven't talked about yet, because the NFL is freaking rigged. And that might be my take it or leave it. I might just add it in off script. And if we have a game against the Raiders that looks eerily familiar to that, yes, I'll let you come on this take next week and go, Bucs are spiraling. And I'll be like, you know what? I can't have any, because the Chiefs won. Okay, the Chiefs are winning games. I get that. And we talk about it every single week. But my goodness, the way they won that game on Friday made me want to gouge my eyes out. That was the ugliest win, the weirdest win, the dumbest win. Ref is running on the field. Quarterback's looking at the ref like, huh, what do you want? Ball gets thrown. They land on it. Game over. What? Dude, anyways, so I think I'm going to leave this one. The Bucs are not spiraling. Actually, I think that this tough win that we experienced was just the spark plugs into our battery that we needed to be like, oh shoot, we can win these really tough, close games. Todd Bowles said after the game that finally the football gods have had mercy on us, because this whole season, every game that we've played, where it was a close game like the Panthers one, we have lost. But we found a way to win that game. And I think that formula, I think that tenacity, I think the fact that our team can see we can do that against an opponent who played us very well, that means that we can go into our next games and have that confidence. So
you're on record. You're on record as saying that a hard-fought, close win against a 3-9 team is going to be the boost that your team needs moving forward.
I told you last week about this game. We talked about it. I said, beating up on your little cousins on Thanksgiving football gives you confidence and makes you feel like you can run through a brick wall. Mark my words. Mike Evans will have 200 receiving yards against the Raiders on Sunday.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Consider them marked.
Go ahead.
All right, why don't you give us your first take it or leave it then?
The Bucs will go 11-6. Let me give you the rest of our schedule.
I already know it. We've been through it multiple times. I'm obviously leaving this, as I've said in previous weeks.
You don't want to know the schedule?
No, I know the schedule, Bryce. We've already talked about it.
What's
I'm going to if you if you let me speak, I will tell you that, as I said last week, it's not that I'm hating on the Bucs. It's not that I think the Bucs are going to miss the playoffs. It's not that I think the Bucs are bad. I want the Bucs to do well for your sake and only your sake. But I think you're going to lose one of either the Chargers game or the Chiefs game.
Cowboys.
I'm sorry, Cowboys. That's what I meant. Chargers or Cowboys.
If you had known the schedule, you would have known that. Okay. I'm just playing with you, man.
Back or down.
I could see us. I could see us losing one of those games. I don't think I could see us losing the Dallas game. I'm sorry, but the Chargers game, maybe. Their defense is exceptional, and it'll be really hard for us to score.
Which one of those? One of those is on the road, and one of those is in Tampa. Which is which?
They're both on the road.
They're both on the road.
Chargers and at Dallas.
Okay, well that's kind of why I say what I'm saying here.
Sure.
There are a couple teams in this league right now who are on 6, 7, 8 win streak.
How's the Cowboys' record this season at home?
It's not very good.
I think they'd be better in Tampa.
But how's their record overall?
I'm just saying.
One game worse than yours. Currently, they're 5-7, are they not? 4-7. Anyway, look, I just think, again, I'm not saying you're gonna lose to the Cowboys. I'm not saying you're gonna lose to the Chargers. I think it's very, very possible that you could lose to one of those two teams, and because of that, I'm gonna drop your take that they're gonna go undefeated from here on out. I just don't think it's gonna happen. Again, I think it's very possible that you could still lose one or even two games and make the playoffs, in my opinion. My next take it or leave it, maybe we'll each do one more for the sake of time. My next take it or leave it is this. Take it or leave it, Bryce. Lamar Jackson will not win NFL MVP. Not because he's not good enough, but because his defense and kicking game cost the team games. Take it or leave it. Do I need to say it again for the people in the back?
No, I heard you.
Okay.
And there's no one behind me at the moment.
That you know of.
I'm going to have to leave that. I think Lamar Jackson at the moment has the statistics to be MVP. And I don't think there's enough reasons, the reasons you just listed, for him not to win.
Okay. So you think that we could pencil in Lamar Jackson as the NFL MVP right now?
If the season ended today, I think he would. Here's the deal. If Saquon's insanity run continues, he could win it. If he gets over 2,000 rushing yards and it's week 18, I think we'll be having a discussion of, I think Saquon's going to win this thing. But right now, if the season ended, I think Lamar would win it.
Here's why right now, if the season ended, I think Lamar would not win it. Okay? And this is what I've been telling my brother, who obviously feels that Lamar Jackson is far and away better than anybody, which statistically is not true. If we look at the numbers, he's got 3,290 yards this season, which is second most behind Joe Burrow. He's got 29 touchdowns, which is second most behind Joe Burrow. He's got only three interceptions, which is second lowest behind only Justin Herbert, I believe, has one interception. And he's got a 116.3 QBR, which is the best in the league. So, not to mention that the stats aren't necessarily the best across the league, but his team's record is becoming average, which is crazy to say. They're 8-5. Okay, they're a couple games here and there from being 500, which is wild to think about considering the talent on this offense. But the reason I say this, and again, if they lose two more games this year, Lamar Jackson will not be your NFL MVP, because this award goes to a player whose team succeeds above and beyond expectation. And if the Ravens end the season with 7 losses or more, they're not going to look at Lamar in that light, unfortunately. Guys on bad teams, and I'm not saying the Ravens are bad, guys on bad teams don't win NFL MVP no matter how good they are. Guys on average teams don't win NFL MVP no matter how good they are. It's the guys on the great teams that end up winning NFL MVP every single season. And we can go back and look at the winners. The stats will show this. So no matter how good he is, no matter how athletically gifted Lamar Jackson is and talented, he's not going to win NFL MVP if this team continues to lose games the way they have been.
So it'll be Josh Allen?
If the season ended today, I would give it to Josh Allen before I would give it to Lamar Jackson.
Let me give you the Ravens' next 4 games, their last 4 games.
Let's do it.
You got...
And they're going to the bye week, right? They got a bye week coming up.
Correct.
Yeah.
Their next game will be on December 15th at New York to face the Giants. Win or loss?
Win.
Okay, 9-5. Their next game will be at home versus the Pittsburgh Steelers on December 21st. At home. Win or loss?
We'll see.
Okay.
What does the kicking game look like? What does the defense look like?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, so we're
not sure.
Give
Give me the rest of them.
Okay. Next game.
Give me the rest. Just give me the rest of them. I'll tell you if I can find 2 more losses. How about that?
At Houston, playing the Texans.
Okay.
On Christmas. And then their last game to end the season will be at home versus the Cleveland Browns.
Okay, that's an L. Quickly.
That's crazy.
All right. Obviously, you look at those remaining 4 games and you see the only 2 that you feel like they could legitimately lose is at home against Pittsburgh and on the road at Houston, right? That's a brutal stretch for Houston. I want to say they play 2 games in like 9 days or something. It's crazy. Or no, 3. It's like 3 games in like 9 days over Christmas or something wild. So I'm not sure where the Ravens game falls in that stretch for them, but that's going to be tough even playing at home. Look, dude, if the defense doesn't show up, if the kicking game doesn't show up, they could lose any game, sadly. That's just how it's been going, dude. And when Lamar Jackson, I mean, he wasn't special against the Eagles. He really wasn't. They had 12 points that entire game until the last 10 seconds when he finally takes it down and scores a touchdown. So,
Okay.
Dude, I'm just saying it's not impossible for them to lose any of those games. Obviously, I don't think that they're going to lose to the Giants. I doubt they're going to lose to the Browns again. We'll see on those good teams. I mean, those are 2 playoff teams we're talking about. I will not be surprised if they lose 2 more games. Just because of what we've seen this far into the season. How much longer are we going to wait on their defense and their kicking game to catch up?
So if they go 10-7, that's a bad record.
It's an average record. I don't think it's a great record. I don't think it's a record where you say, oh, the best player on that team needs the MVP.
I think, here's what I think is going to happen.
Hit me with it.
I think at the worst, they're going to go 3-1. I think at the worst, they lose to Pittsburgh. And they go 11-6. At their best, they win out 4-0 and go 12-5. I do think that Pittsburgh game is tricky. I like the Steelers right now, and they personally are a top 3 for me. So for me, I think the Pittsburgh Steelers would beat the Ravens at that game. Plus, I do think, to your point, Christmas Day at Houston. Houston's already coming off, a short week. And CJ Stroud has not looked like his rookie self. And I think this late in the season, this will be a really big game. It'll definitely be one of our notable matchups, mostly because this is going to be a pivotal game for both teams. But I do think the Ravens come away with the win there, and they go, at worst, 11-6. At that point, I think you're very right, because we don't know. If the Bills just win out too,
that's what I'm saying, bro. It's a
the race is hot right now.
The race is hot, and it's going to be who's hottest at the end. Whether or not you agree with that strategy, that is how they do it, man. We are prisoners of the moment. So whichever team is on fire, whichever team is winning in incredible fashion, whichever guy we're talking about at the end is likely going to be the guy that gets it. It doesn't mean that's the guy that is the best player in the league, but is that what the MVP is? And we could have this debate another day. But most valuable player to me is a guy whose value to his team is higher than anybody else in the league.
Yeah.
Take Josh Allen off that Bills team. Are they what they are? Now, it depends obviously on who you put in his place. I'm just saying his value to that team with, I think a lot of people would agree, is not amazing talent around him, is insane, dude. It's insane what they're doing given the pieces they have. I'm not dogging Amari Cooper. I'm not dogging James Cook, but outside of those 2, name some guys. Name some guys. Okay. My point. Where are we putting Dawson Knox in top tight ends? I don't think he's in the top 10.
Yeah, maybe not.
We don't have to have the Dawson Knox debate. I'm just saying that if you take Josh Allen away from what the Bills are now, man,
sure,
that is what makes him the most valuable player in my opinion.
And here's where I'll say, you have a lot of validity in what you're saying, because their next 5 games, the Bills are the Rams, Detroit. So they play at Los Angeles, at Detroit, and then they're at home against the Patriots, Jets, and then they're back. They go to New England to play the Patriots again. So almost Patriots back-to-back. I think the Detroit game being the hardest one in the next 5 weeks, I think Josh Allen could have insane stats over the next 5 weeks.
Are we possibly getting a Super Bowl preview this late in the season? That would be insane. That's in Detroit, right? That game?
Yeah. So I will say, I can hear what you're saying. Lamar Jackson will not win MVP. I'm gonna leave it for now, but I see what you mean, and I can rock with that.
Give me your last one.
My last one is take it or leave it. Kirk Cousins is washed.
Hey, you want me to take some more of your takes? I'll take this one. How about that?
Kirk Cousins has played some abysmal football the last few weeks and just has looked completely off. Love him as a person. I think, we all fell in love with him on that episode of QB on Netflix that released, I think, like
he's a quality guy, man. He's just a quality guy.
Good dad, good husband, all around from what we see. But when he gets on that football field, it doesn't look like he's all there. And they have a great, we don't know if he's great, but they have a rookie who's kind of old. He's 25, 26, Michael Penix.
Right.
And he's sitting. Grow up, dude.
Me? That is not how you say his name, bro.
Penix? How do you say his name?
Say it. Say it again.
Michael Penix.
No.
How do you say it? How to pronounce Michael Penix Jr. Hold on. I got this. I'm going to share my screen too. We're going to learn together.
No, I already know.
So it's pen and then X. So you could write it like a pen, P-E-N, and then an X.
First of all, who's this dude?
Michael Penix. Oh, okay. My fault. All right. Michael Penix is sitting behind Kirk Cousins, and that's potentially a great quarterback that could be playing for this team. Young guy. Kirk Cousins is washed. Thank you for taking it. I really didn't know how to pronounce it. That's how I've been saying it in my head since the season started.
Oh, that's good, brother. That's good. All right,
Dude, what?
I'm probably tired. That's funny. Let's move on, Bryce, to our next segment. Run that back. Obviously, if anyone's listening, they know what this is. We're going to go over our picks from last week, talk about our records, talk about anything that we hit on, anything that we missed.
We need to start betting.
Dude, 13-3 for your boy, 11-5 for you, which is excellent.
I'm not mad about it.
We got this thing down.
Dude, I go 11-5 and purposely take upsets. Like,
you
that's
took
what's
multiple
crazy.
upsets. Like, for example, you said that the Lord spoke to you and told you that the Bears were going to beat the Lions.
And I was right until Matt Eberflus freaking took it into his own hands. God was all over that game. Eberflus, I don't know how to say his stupid name. That is fire him. Screw Doug Peterson. Get that guy out of there.
You said God was all over that game until the end. Who else took over God?
God had that game. And you know the old term, let go and let God? Well, Matt Eberflus did not let go. And instead of calling a timeout and letting the Lord work in mysterious ways, he just let the clock run out and the game was over. So you and I both know that game could have went a whole lot differently if they had just called a timeout.
Maybe. Or maybe a homeboy misses the kick and we're having the same discussion.
Probably, but at least give the brother a chance.
And Eberflus would probably still have his job if that happened, which is crazy.
He still does have his job.
No.
He got fired?
Yeah, he did.
I'm just finding this out right now. When did he get fired? Hold on.
That happened like the next day. That happened on Black Friday. Catch up real quick.
I was flying, dude. I was on an airplane.
That's right. You were flying, so you probably missed
You
that.
didn't tell me? Why didn't you
I
text
thought
me?
you'd have seen it, dude. I'm sorry. We literally run a sports podcast. I thought you would have seen it.
Where do I find this information?
Anywhere on the World Wide Web.
Oh, okay. Where were we?
We were just talking about some of our picks. Now, we both picked the Ravens to beat the Eagles in Baltimore. Fell short on that, which we've talked about already.
Calculated
What else
pick,
happened?
though.
We both had the Bengals. We both fell short on that. Now, you talk so high on the Steelers, yet you don't pick them often. So I'm just curious about that, but we don't have to discuss it. It is what it is. You picked the Raiders. Not only did you pick them, but you said they would win by 10. That didn't happen.
That didn't happen.
And you picked the Browns, and I take no pleasure in saying that I picked the Broncos. I was rooting for the Browns, obviously, to pull that out, but they didn't, and it is what it is.
I was so close, man, to getting that
You were.
Browns one. Again, 2 weeks in a row.
You had a
It's okay,
couple.
though.
So you had a couple games that were really close to hitting. Obviously, the Bears and the Browns. The Bengals game was close. The Raiders obviously was very close.
Mhm.
So your takes
Glad
were
you
not
brought that up.
wild. I picked the Jets to beat the Seahawks, which was going in my favor when we left church on Sunday. It was 21-6. I was listening on the radio. It's crazy. And then here come the Seahawks, and they obviously end up winning that one. But overall, man, can't argue with 13-3 and 11-5. Well done.
Great picks, man, and I'm excited to get into these Week 14 picks because
Let's do it.
there's some good matchups coming up this
There
week.
are some good matchups. We're going to talk about them. Week 14 coming at you quick. It starts off with our Thursday night game, which has got to be the game of the week. The 9-3 Green Bay Packers in Detroit to face the red-hot 11-1 Detroit Lions. Talk to me.
Okay, here is the take. I am picking the upset in the Packers. I'm laying that out right now. Is it really an upset? I would say a lot of people would think it is. Look at the Detroit Lions the last 2 weeks.
Okay.
They have almost lost 2 games that were against far worse opponents. Now they're playing a very good Packers team with a really good run game. And Jordan Love's playing, I wouldn't say he's playing amazing, but he's playing good. He's playing good football. And I do think that they beat Detroit. I just think that they have had consecutive weeks against not very good opponents and almost lost. And now they're playing a good opponent. I think they take an L here, but I think that they rally and win a lot more games. I mean, I think Detroit is the best team in football, but I have to take this upset just based off of how they've been playing the last 2 weeks.
That's wild. I get what you're saying. I hear you. I tend to lean on the side of a win is a win in the NFL because the talent is so high. No matter if you're on the best team or the worst team, in my humble opinion, it's hard to win in this league against anybody. And I think week after week we see that. And so I don't tend to judge wins based off of the opponent. I understand what you're saying, and I know a lot of people would probably agree with that take. I'm going to go with the Lions, again, just because I've been riding them all season, but also because I've been kind of wavering on the Packers. Now, they had a great showing against the 49ers 2 weeks ago. They had a great showing against Miami last week on Thanksgiving. So they're kind of riding high. They're pretty hot right now. I think they put up a great game. This is going to be an excellent game. I give the edge to Detroit because, one, I think they're the better team, but two, they're also playing in Detroit at home. And so give me the Lions to win, but I'm curious to know, are the Packers kind of being overlooked right now? I'm just curious to know your take on that.
Yeah.
You think they are?
I do. Like you said, the last 2 weeks, over 30 points. 30 points or more in the last 2 weeks against the 49ers, against Miami. Now, you could argue that those two teams aren't doing very good.
Yeah.
But I do think going into this game against Detroit, it is good to have those games under your belt. Their offense is rolling, man. Josh Jacobs looks great. Jordan Love's passing great. So I just think, I do agree. I think Detroit is the better team, and I think if they meet again in the playoffs, Detroit will win. But I have this upset. It's just a feeling I have. I think that Green Bay takes care of it.
Stick with it then. I'm going Lions on that one. Let's move to our next notable game. We've been talking about this division probably more than we thought we ever would on this pod. Yeah. The NFC West in the spotlight again. You've got Seattle on a 3-game win streak at 7-5, going to Arizona to play the 6-6 Cardinals. I'll take this one first. And this is a game that the Cardinals have to have. I mean, This is a division rival. This is the team that you are in contention with to take the top spot in the division and hopefully grab that playoff spot, right? And they played just 2 weeks ago, which is crazy. Obviously, Seattle won. Arizona played terribly. Kyler threw a pick 6. Really, Seattle didn't play that well either, but they inched ahead of Arizona in that game, and which is why I had picked the Jets to beat Seattle. Obviously, that we know that didn't go the way that I thought, but Seattle seems to be getting a little bit hotter offensively. They look a little bit better. The Cardinals, formidable against the Vikings, brought it all the way down to the last second, ended up losing by 1, I believe, in that game, which is wild, on an Aaron Jones crazy catch in the back of the end zone to put the Vikings ahead. Insane finish there. So I like Arizona's grit and their fight. It's a tough one, man. It's a big game for both of these teams.
It's at Arizona. I mean,
it's at Arizona.
We took Seahawks in the first matchup was because they're in Seattle, if you remember
right.
that.
That is right.
Now they're in Arizona, and this will be their second road game in a row for the Seahawks.
For the Seahawks, yep.
Oh, maybe that changes what you think. I don't know.
Yeah, picked up a big win in New York. Man, this is a huge game, dude. It's a huge game. I'm tempted to pick Seattle, but I'm kind of being a little bit stubborn because my take that no team in this division will win more than 9 games, that would put Seattle at 8-5. No, I need to go with my gut and say that Seattle's going to pull this one out and take control of this division moving forward.
Okay, give me Arizona, and
okay.
I'll say this: I think Arizona wins this game. I think we originally thought that Arizona was going to be the team that does go 9-8 in this group, and
right.
The reason I have Arizona here is yes, they came off a tough loss against the Vikings. They're in Minnesota, but you're right; they won. The Minnesota won by 1 point,
right?
And the Cardinals' offense was doing some good things, and Minnesota ain't no pushover,
right?
And so like these two teams just played 2 entirely different opponents the past week. And I think the Cardinals, with that rep under them, kind of get the scrappier win out.
Yeah.
In Arizona, I like the Cardinals. I think Kyler Murray, Marvin Harrison, James Conner, and just the company they got, I think that they scrape away a win here against Seattle and kind of make this division even more crazier. And next week we'll have a lot to talk about, but I think Cardinals win.
Great. This may be the week that we really separate from each other in our picks so far, going the opposite direction on both of these games. Let's go to our third notable matchup that we have down here. It's the Los Angeles Chargers at 8-4 in Kansas City to face the Juggernaut Chiefs. Your favorite team, Bryce, 11-1. Who you got? This game right here has so many notable takes as far as some of the things that we've said on this podcast in recent weeks.
Dude, the Chiefs offense has looked so bad all season. I don't care what you say. It has not looked that good. And now they're playing Sunday night at the Chiefs, at Kansas City. Is the lights too bright for the Chargers and Jim Harbaugh? Does the defense get it done, though? Or do the Chiefs come out there and Travis Kelce just has a game and Patrick Mahomes historically under the lights in primetime does win those games? Like,
you're asking a lot of questions, man. I need to hear some answers.
I'm torn. Should I give it a coin flip for my pick?
Live on the pod? You got a coin?
Tails for Chargers.
Okay.
Hey Siri, flip a coin.
Heads.
All right, I'm going with the Chiefs. No, bump that. Give me the Chargers. I have the Chargers winning this game. I don't care what Siri says. Chargers for the upset.
All right, man. All right. I'm going with the Chiefs. Look, I don't care what anybody says about the way the Chiefs are winning right now. You can say what you want to say. This team, I go based off of facts and reality and what we've seen in very recent past. This team, more than any other, can flip the switch when they need to. And you mentioned it. This is the first game in weeks that they've played against a big opponent. Now, they played the Bills 3 weeks ago. Took them all the way to the end. Didn't win the game. Their only loss of the season. This Chargers team is not nearly as good as the Bills, but it is a formidable playoff team right now coming into town, a division rival. Man, Chiefs. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's a multi-touchdown win.
Listen, the Chargers aren't as good as the Bills offensively, but you could argue that the Chargers are far better than the Bills defensively.
You could. Yeah, you could.
So, with a struggling offense that the Chiefs do have, that's the only reason I'm taking the Chargers, because defense does win games. And so if the defense shows up, they'll win. If they don't, Chiefs will win, and it'll be another week where I have it and might take it or leave it, but we never get to it, that I hate the Chiefs and that they suck. Next up, we got the picks for the rest of the game. So why don't you fire those off for us?
All right.
You and I will just throw our picks out there. We'll end this thing. Call it a day.
All right. I got you. Let me get us started with Cleveland, 3-9, headed to Pittsburgh, whom they recently beat at 9-3. Games in Pittsburgh, as I mentioned. Bryce, give me your take.
Is it crazy to say that Cleveland goes 2-0 on the Steelers here?
It'd be historic.
I want the Browns to win, often. But I'm 1-1 on Browns this season, or in the last few weeks. I'd say this season. I mean, when I started actually being like, oh, I'm taking the Browns, like I'm taking their upset. I'm 1-1 on the upsets.
Okay.
So I'm gonna try to improve my record here by taking the Steelers over the Cleveland Browns.
Okay. Steelers are rolling, man, offensively. Browns defense is really struggling, and if Denzel Ward misses any time, he left the game last night in the third quarter, didn't return. They're going to be hurting in their secondary, so I'm going Pittsburgh, even though I hate to say it, because, man, I hate the Steelers with a passion.
I know. I'm sorry, man.
As much as a good Christian boy could hate a football organization, I do.
Christian boys talking ball.
That's maybe one that we'll start later down the road for our children. All right, we both got the Steelers. Let's go. Buffalo Bills 10-2 at Los Angeles Rams 6-6.
I'm sorry, Rams, but there's going to be more Bills fans at your stadium, and you don't have what it takes to stop this team. So give me Bills.
Yep, Bills roll, continue their hot streak, go to 11-2 on the road. New Orleans Saints at 4-8, visiting the New York Giants 2-10.
Actually, a hard game to predict.
Is it?
For me. I mean, I don't know what the heck I'm looking at here.
Yeah.
These teams. I mean, give me Saints just for the sake of their team is just better overall, statistically. Yeah. But this very well could be a Giants game. It doesn't matter. So that's what's hard. It's like this game doesn't matter for anybody, but I'm going to take Saints.
My gut tells me Giants. I want to believe that Drew
that.
Lock is a decent option. I think with a full week of preparation and time to get ready for this Saints team, I can't trust the Saints offense. That's hard for me to do. And the defense, for that matter. I can't trust this team. They're kind of very similar to the Falcons for me. Like, I can't trust them enough to pick them. It's crazy to say when you consider the Giants are 2-10, but just I want to take the Giants at home here. Give me the Giants.
All right.
Let's go the New York Jets at 3-9, headed south to face the Miami Dolphins at 5-7, who still trying to make a playoff push in the AFC.
If Miami was playing in New York, I'd take the Jets, but because they're home, it's going to be nice weather. I got Miami winning this.
Yeah, dude, I'm done picking the Jets, man. I've tried that. Multiple times. They're hurting my overall. Give me the Dolphins as well. Let's go to Tennessee, where we have the Jacksonville Jaguars, led by Mac Jones at 2-10, in town to face the Tennessee Titans at 3-9. It's a slugfest here. I'll pick it first, just for sake of switching it up. Give me the Titans, man. That's a tough team, no matter where they play. Even though they're 3-9, we said it last week, they don't lay down for anybody. They're not just a pushover.
Mm-hmm.
And so even though they got rolled in Washington, they still fought back. They scored late. They were trying to make a little comeback, whatever. They're not going to win a lot of games, but they're always going to fight. So give me the Titans here against a bad Jacksonville team.
Okay. Give me Tennessee as well. Tony Pollard's still playing, yeah?
That I know of.
Yeah,
unless we missed something.
Give me the Titans.
Okay. Good. Atlanta Falcons at 6-6 on the road to face the Minnesota Vikings at 10-2. I cannot wait to say Vikings all the way on this one.
Yeah, give me the Vikings. I need to will it in existence anyways. Atlanta needs to lose for us to have some sort of advantage here. So give me Minnesota.
It's a good draw if you're a Bucs fan then.
Yeah.
How about the scrappy 3-9 Carolina Panthers on the road to face the Philadelphia Eagles, maybe the hottest team in the league, at 10-2. Who you got?
I mean, the Carolina Panthers are feisty, but they are not winning these close games. So I think Philadelphia comes in and wins. I mean, I'd be crazy to pick the Panther upset.
Anybody would be, and I'm not going to either. I would love to see the Panthers win this. It would be so crazy, weird, and obviously not good for our takes, but it'd be sweet to see Bryce Young get a big road win like that against that team.
That'd be crazy.
I'll be paying attention, man, because I want to see it happen. That'd be cool. But for sake of the picks, give me the Eagles. We've got the 2-10 Las Vegas Raiders in Tampa to play your Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 6-6. Who you got, Bryce? Scrappy Raiders. Scrappy Raiders took the Chiefs to the last minute. Scrappy Raiders. Just consider it.
Give me the Bucs.
Give me the Bucs.
And it's not even going to be close.
Okay. It better not be, because the following week on the pod, if it is going to be entertaining.
I know.
Chicago Bears, with a new leader at the helm, 4-8, headed to San Francisco to face the 5-7 hobbling San Francisco 49ers. Who you got?
Give me the Bears. I think they get a win under their new head coach or interim head coach. I don't know who's stepping in for them right now. But give me the Bears with that win, and maybe some like rejuvenated spark, adrenaline, whatever you want to call it. And I mean, I'm not saying they're reviving their season. I don't think there's any hope for them, but I do think they'll win this year, and it'll be a good win for them on Sunday.
Okay. We'll see. They might have new life. We see that a lot in the league. You make a change like that at the head coach position or the quarterback position, oftentimes you'll see a team rally together and scrap out a win. These are two teams that are not great this year. I don't know. I mean, we've seen a lot of good things from that Bears offense. We've seen good things from the 49ers. We've seen a lot of bad from both of those teams too. My gut says 49ers at home, and so I'm going to take the 49ers. I don't know if that'll be right or not. We'll see.
Okay.
The last one on the slate, we've got the Cincinnati Bengals at 4-8 in Dallas to face the 5-7 Cowboys on Monday Night Football. Who you got?
I love Monday Night Football, man. And the Monday Night Football matchups have been so good this season. Give me Cincinnati, though. I'll take them, and I think that, I don't know if you saw this come out. Jamar Chase said he is dreading playing against Trayvon Diggs in the game coming up. He said the last time they played, it was the only time that 7-Eleven has ever been closed. So, I don't know, but I like the Bengals here. I think they win.
Jamar Chase really said he's dreading playing somebody?
He said he had nightmares the last time he played Trayvon Diggs because he shut him down.
You think there's a little trolling going on there?
I don't know.
Or is he really like game recognized game kind of thing?
I think it's just game recognized game. I think he really likes playing him, but he did lock him down last time they played. So
this is the Bengals' last chance to make a playoff push. If they lose this game, it's over. It's over. Give me the Bengals.
All right.
That wraps it up, man. I feel good about those picks. I hope you do too. We'll see how it pans out in week 14. Can you believe it? We are already in week 14 in the NFL. Crazy. Good episode of the pod. Appreciate debating with you as always. Looking forward to seeing what happens this week, and we'll be back next week for another episode of Boys Talking Ball. In the meantime, follow us on social. If you just can't get enough of these two doofuses, you can find a ton of content on Instagram at Boys Talking Ball, on TikTok at Boys Talking Ball, on Twitter at BTB Football Pod. You can email us at boystalkingball@gmail.com. Am I missing anything, Bryce?
You can text Mitchell at...
Hey, time out. Great episode of the pod, man. Looking forward to next week. Have a good one. Thanks, y'all, for listening. We'll see you next week. Peace.
Bye.